What's happening? It is here. It is here. It is draft night, round number 1 in the NFL. Let's get right to it. We're not going to waste any time. Terry Grant jumps in early with a $50 super chat, draft night super chat kickoff. Thank you, Terry. I appreciate the generosity and the support as always. And that's how you kick off an NFL draft preview special. This bonus episode for you, live stream. Everything Pats, a New England Patriots podcast. Again, thank you to Terry for that $50 super chat. It means the absolute world to me. Here's where I'm going to start, and it's a pretty simple idea. It's a pretty simple thought. The Patriots tonight have to come out of the first round with a left tackle prospect. They have to come out with a left tackle prospect. They can't mess around. They can no longer mess around. They messed around for way too long at tackle. As we know the history, I've gone over it. Bill Belichick, several years, said thanks but no thanks to the tackle position after drafting Isaiah Wynn. That was a huge swing and a miss by Belichick year after year after year. Now, last season, we could justify not drafting a left tackle at the top of the first round because you needed a quarterback. And if there's any premium position that is more premium than left tackle, it is quarterback. So I had no issue drafting Drake May. I wanted the Patriots to draft Drake May. But here we are tonight, and you cannot leave this first round without a left tackle, whether that's Will Campbell, Kelvin Banks, Josh Connerly, Josh Simmons, Armand Membu. You cannot leave the first round tonight without a tackle prospect that you believe can play the left side of the offensive line. You just can't do it. It is a premium need. It is the number one need for this football team. The number one priority is to protect your franchise quarterback in Drake May. You don't mess around. You go out and you get a tackle in tonight's first round. You get Drake May the help that he needs, and hopefully you stop this never-ending headache. It has been a migraine waiting for the future at left tackle. You have to walk out of tonight's first round with a left tackle prospect. Now, let me say this. I said this with Beadle and Phil Perry today on 98.5. Hopefully some of you were able to check that show out. Had a lot of fun, by the way. I'm not in love with the idea of drafting Will Campbell at 4. If you ask me, Nick, do you love the pick? It's tough for me to say that I would love the pick of Will Campbell at number 4. However, even though I don't love Will Campbell at 4, what I hate is the idea of walking out of this draft in the first round without a left tackle prospect. So I might not love Will Campbell at 4, but I certainly hate the idea of walking out of this first round without a big guy on the left side to help protect Drake May. That's an idea that I hate. I might learn to love Will Campbell being picked 4th. I have no problem with the idea of Will Campbell being picked 4th. I have a huge problem with the idea of the Patriots going with a defensive player or somebody else. Now, there's one thing I would say. At number 4, if Abdul Carter is there, I'm drafting Abdul Carter. I don't think any of us expect or anticipate Travis Hunter being there at number 4. I would draft Abdul Carter over Will Campbell. I would draft Abdul Carter at number 4 because he's one of the only 2 blue chip prospects in this draft. But you bet your tuchus that I would move back into the first round and I would trade to pick up whatever draft selection I can pick up in the early 20s, somewhere in there, and I would take the stab at the tackle position. Abdul Carter is the only guy that I would draft over a tackle at 4. He's the only guy because I don't think that Travis Hunter is going to be there. But you've got to leave this first round with a left tackle, whether you trade for Colton Miller or you trade back into the first round, and it's a risk, and it's no guarantee. But I feel more confident that the Patriots will have the capability of trading back into the first round, given some of the late information that has been leaking. Again, we'll get to that a little bit later, but I am more confident that the Patriots will be able to trade back into the first round right now at 6:04 Eastern time on Thursday, April 24th, than I was during the show earlier today with Beadle and Phil Perry. And I'll give you reasons why coming up a little later. Here is the latest on Will Campbell. Jeremy Fowler posted this just a couple of hours ago. Patriots brass traveled to Louisiana in recent days to visit with Campbell. New England has been linked to the All-American tackle with its number 4 overall pick and is doing more work on him late in the process. What's going on with all the Will Campbell talk? Why is there so much Will Campbell New England Patriots talk? Why is it so blatant? I mean, I get the idea of connecting a player to a team. I get the idea of the Patriots, as I just mentioned, they need a left tackle. It would make sense. A lot of people say that Will Campbell is the top tackle in this class. So I understand connecting the dots. But why is it being said so much? Why is it being said today after everything that has been said over the past 2 months about Campbell and the Patriots? Why in the world, a few hours before the number 1 pick gets made by Tennessee, why are we hearing this from Jeremy Fowler? Is that not weird to you? It's weird to me. It's weird to me that just a few hours before the draft, we're getting told that the Patriots have traveled to Louisiana in recent days to visit with Campbell. We were told yesterday that the Patriots have an affection for Campbell. Todd McShay said that Mike Vrabel fell in love with Campbell. Why all of this coming out? Why is there so many leaks regarding Campbell and the Patriots? Here's my theory. You ready? The Patriots love Will Campbell. I believe that. I believe the Patriots love Will Campbell. I also believe that the Patriots love the idea of trading down. I think if the Patriots had their first option, it would be them trading down in this draft. That's what I think they want to do. I think they want to move down from 4. They love Will Campbell, but they love the idea of trading down more than they love Will Campbell. So what's happening? Well, we're hearing about these teams trying to trade up. And I'll talk about one specific team in a moment, the latest report from Diana Rossini, which is fascinating given the situation with the Patriots. But they love Will Campbell. I think they love the idea of trading down more than they love the player. And so my theory is this. The Patriots have been taking offers. They've been talking to teams. And the Patriots don't love what has been offered. So what do you do if you're the Patriots? If you're sitting there at 4 and you want to move down, but teams that are calling you, the conversations that you're having, they're not really moving the needle. What do? What I think the Patriots are doing is they are leaking all of this love for Will Campbell to try to apply pressure on the teams beneath them in this draft to move up to 4. And so the more that we hear about the Patriots loving Will Campbell, it makes it sound like the Patriots don't want to leave this draft without Will Campbell. And so the Patriots can try to leverage that and say, we really don't want to walk away from Campbell. And if we're going to trade with you, we're giving up the opportunity to draft the guy that we love. And so you're just building up this smoke around Will Campbell to try to build value of the 4th pick. Because if teams feel like, man, they do really love Will Campbell, we might have to up the offer because Mike Vrabel fell in love with Will Campbell. I think that's what's happening. That's my theory. The Patriots love Will Campbell. The Patriots love the idea of trading down more than they love Will Campbell. They're not getting the offers that they want. So they're throwing Will Campbell and all the love out there. So teams say, we might have to give them a little bit more because they are absolutely head over heels in love with Will Campbell. We're going to have to up this offer. Now, here's the latest from Diana Rossini. Chicago is looking to move up from number 10. This is being reported. The Chicago Bears are calling teams. They're trying to move up in this draft. And according to Rossini, the Bears are trying to move up in the draft to select Ashton Genty. Now, I've gone over this possibility. Locked On Patriots podcast, this live stream. We've talked about this. This isn't shocking to me. Do I believe Chicago's interested in Genti? I do. Do I believe there's a possibility that Chicago could trade up to 4, make that deal work with the Patriots, and draft Genti? I do. Is it likely? I have no idea. But Diana Rossini is reporting that Jacksonville is sitting there at 5. They're contemplating what to do. And Chicago is trying to move up in this draft so they can draft Genti. Now, Jacksonville trying to figure out what they want to do at 5 is critical to this entire idea because reportedly Jacksonville is interested in Genti at 5. Jeff Howe, who we had on this podcast yesterday, Jeff Howe is reporting that Jacksonville is trying to move up to 2. They're trying to work out a deal right now with the Cleveland Browns because Jacksonville wants Travis Hunter. Now, that's interesting. What does Cleveland do if they move down to 5? Are they more comfortable drafting Shedeur Sanders at 5 than 2? That wouldn't make much sense. Or are they identifying a player like, I don't know, T-Mac, Tet McMillan? Maybe that's the guy they're kind of looking at. Maybe it's Genti. Maybe the Browns feel like Genti and Travis Hunter, there's not much difference between those two players, so maybe they're fine moving down to 5 and drafting Genti. But Jeff Howe is saying that the Jags are trying to move up, and obviously, it feels like the Jaguars want Travis Hunter as the ultimate prize. So there's a lot of moving parts here. But if Chicago can get up to the Patriots at 4, it doesn't matter, as The Rock would say. It doesn't matter what the team at 5 does, and that's why it's important, and that's why we've kept talking about this, because the Patriots, if Chicago is absolutely in love with the idea of drafting Genti and they're willing to move up to make that happen, then to secure the player, they would have to move into the 4 spot. Because Jacksonville could trade up, Jacksonville could trade down, Jacksonville could draft Genti. Because we know Cam Ward's going 1. We're all pretty confident right now that Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, and Abdul Carter are going in the top 3. So if you are a team that wants Ashton Genti, the way that you seal the deal is by moving into 4 and getting that Patriots pick. Now, Chicago has 2 second-round picks. That's why it makes sense. Chicago has number 39 and 41. So if the Patriots could work out this trade with Chicago, Chicago moves up to 4. They draft the guy that they want in Genti. The Patriots move back to 10, but they pick up one of those 2 second-round picks and maybe another pick. Who knows what the price would be? But if the Patriots could get that second-round pick, whether it's 39 or 41, now the Patriots walk into day 2 of the draft with pick 38 and pick 39, or pick 38 and pick 41. And you can do an awful lot. You might not even get to day 2 with those picks, because if you can get that second-round pick from Chicago, now you can use your own second-round pick to go along with another pick to trade back into the first round if that's what you want to do. So there are, again, a lot of moving parts. I am keeping my eye on Twitter right now as we speak. Ian Rappaport just tweeted out that among the teams open to discussing moving up, the Texans, the Broncos, and the Jaguars, there are teams that are looking to move back as well, and he names a few of those: Panthers, Seahawks, almost everyone late in round 1. So there's a lot going on. But before we keep on cranking here, don't forget to do a few things to help out this live stream. Click that thumbs up as you watch. If you love what we do, if you enjoy the channel, don't forget to click that thumbs up and help us out. More thumbs means more eyeballs. Let's take advantage and use that algorithm. So don't forget to like. Don't forget to throw your comments in. I see a lot of comments. I don't know how many I'm going to be able to get to because I'm trying to keep my eye on Twitter and host this live stream. So I will try. The best way to get my attention is by sending a super chat. I will absolutely get to the super chats. But don't forget to like. Don't forget to comment, because comments help us with the algorithm. And don't forget to subscribe. Our goal is to hit 6,600 subscribers tonight. I want to hit it by pick number 1. It's getting tight. We have about 40 to 50 subscribers that we need to join here within the next hour and 45 minutes. So if you like what we do, don't forget to subscribe and just enjoy this program. And hopefully all of you are excited for the draft. All right, before I have more thoughts on this, I want to get to a couple of super chats. Kyle Kirk with a $10 super chat. I would love Tyler Warren and Josh Connerly. No tackle within the first 2 picks is a problem. Hoping for Rutledge, who is an interior offensive lineman. Torrey Horton, receiver later in the draft. Thanks for all your coverage and efforts, Nick. Thank you. I appreciate it, Kyle. Yeah, again, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that not drafting Campbell at 4 is an absolute fail. I just want them to get a tackle. And so as you write here, if the Patriots move down to 10, let's just have a scenario here. If the Patriots move down to 10 and they draft Tyler Warren, let's just hypothetically say that. Then they trade back into the first round and they draft Connerly. They walked out with a left tackle prospect. That, to me, passes the test. Now, I hope that guy can play. As I've said, I'm not an offensive line guru. I'm not an offensive tackle aficionado. But I want to see LT next to a name tonight. Thank you, Kyle, again, for the $10 super chat. Greg jumps in with the $10 super chat. Way to go, Nick. 3 podcasts tonight. Yeah, so let me fill you in. Right now, we're doing this live stream, getting you ready for the Patriots draft. We're going to end this thing at about 6:30-ish. At 7 o'clock, I'm back on the live stream. Same channel, but we're going to do an NFL podcast, Crafts and Kickoffs. I'm going to grab a beer. We're going to sit here. We're going to have a drink. We're going to talk about the draft from 7 to 7:30 on Crafts and Kickoffs. Then we take a break. I'm going to go have some dinner. I'm going to watch the draft. Right after the 4th pick, a few minutes after, you got to give me a few minutes to set things up. But right after the 4th pick overall, if the Patriots make the 4th pick, we will jump back on this live stream, Everything Pats, to do a reaction live stream to the 4th pick or whenever the Patriots pick. If they move down, obviously it goes without saying that we will jump on after the trade and talk about that after that pick is made. All right, so let's get back to the idea of a trade. If no trade is made, I'd be shocked if the Patriots don't draft Will Campbell. He fills the need. He's a Vrabel guy. There's a lot of smoke. And I think if the Patriots don't make a trade tonight, the smoke is really pushing this idea to the fan base that Will Campbell is the guy. Some pre-draft public relations. So if you're not able to make that deal and you don't deal down and you draft Campbell, well, now you've got a bunch of great things said about Will Campbell in the media over the past month or two. And people can believe in this idea that Mike Vrabel made the call and Campbell is a Vrabel guy. And I've gone through this before on the Locked On Patriots podcast that I do Monday through Friday. Will Campbell, to me, is the safest pick. Safest pick because he's got the highest floor. And a lot of these guys have questions, which we'll get to in a minute. What about Armand Membou? Armand Membou, what's going on in the world of Membou? Well, Greg Bedard wrote today, he's not buying the hype. He's not buying the Membou hype at anything other than right tackle. So Bedard believes that Membou can be a good right tackle. But he continues to write that he has big bust factor. He has a big bust factor if you are banking on him doing that. Not many teams think that he can handle moving to left tackle. So according to Greg Bedard, there are not a lot of teams in the NFL that believe Membou is capable of moving from the right side to the left side. And that's my biggest issue with Membou. I love the idea of his size. I love the idea of his athleticism. I think he could end up being a very good right tackle. But if you can't move him to left tackle, what does he do in 2025? I don't think Mike Vrabel is comfortable moving Morgan Moses from the right to the left. I just don't think he's comfortable with that idea. And I would not be comfortable with that idea because you do have to show a level of respect to a guy like Morgan Moses. And if you go to Moses and say, hey, sorry, Morgan, I know we signed you last month and we told you that you were going to start at right tackle, your position. Well, now we've drafted this dude, Armand Membou, out of Missouri. And if we can't move him to the left, we're going to move you to the left. That's not how you want to treat a veteran leader like Morgan Moses. So I just, if you're not sure that Membou can be moved to the left side, what do you do with him in 2025? What do you do with him maybe even in 2026? You have to walk out of this draft with a left tackle prospect. Now, if you think Membu can play the left side, you better be right. But we went through that last year with Caden Wallace. We went through that last year with Okorafor. And I know that people, my guy Artie79, the T-Rex sounder when talking Campbell was hilarious, talking about the show he did earlier today. That's all T-Bone, Tom Morgan, the producer of Zolak and Bertrand. I know that there's questions about Campbell's length. I know there's the T-Rex stuff, the no-shoulder stuff that we talked about on the show earlier today. I understand all of that. But I want to impress upon all of you a point here. I want to impress. Hold on. Let me put this user in timeout. Stop spamming our chat. Stop spamming our chat. Timeout, timeout, timeout. You're all in timeout. Get out of here with that. Timeout. Stupid jumping in and trying to grift off our live stream here. I want to impress upon one thing. Every left tackle prospect in this draft has a question. And a number of those questions are significant. We just talked about Membu. Can he move from right to left? Beyond that, Tony Pauline at Sportskeeda wrote the following about Membu just a couple of hours ago. Membu turned 21 years old less than a month ago. Interested teams must do their best to ensure that a player that young will stand up under the lights of playing in a big city. Now, of course, Will Campbell turned 21 in January, so he's the same age as Membu, separated by 2 months. Don't forget that Mike Vrabel mentioned that in his pre-draft press conference, that he wants to draft somebody at number 4 who can handle the pressure of being that pick at number 4. Somebody who can handle the media. Somebody who doesn't feel like they're running up a hill with a refrigerator on their back as soon as they get drafted with that 4th pick. And so if there's some question about whether or not Membu can handle being drafted high in this draft and how he can handle that white hot light, then I have some concerns about Membu here in New England with the Boston media. So not only do you have to question, can he move right to left? Is he going to be able to handle some of the heat? So those are the Membu questions. Josh Connerly, he plays quote unquote small. Kelvin Banks, who I like a lot. Kelvin Banks is another guy. Dane Brugler says that he believes Banks is a guard. Greg Bedard said that if Banks is not a right tackle, he thinks Banks is a guard. There are people out there that say the same thing about Banks that say about Will Campbell. Now, Banks has better length than Campbell, but there are people who believe that Banks is better suited to be a guard. Josh Simmons, the knee and football character. Ariante Ursary, very raw. It's very unlikely that Ursary will be ready in 2025 to be your starting left tackle. So there are literally questions about every single tackle prospect that is going to get taken in the first round tonight. Will Campbell, there are questions. That's just how this draft is. And that leads me to the idea of, I think we have to erase the thought of reaches. In this particular draft, drafts are all different. They're like snowflakes, I say. In this specific particular draft, it's tough to sit there and say, oh, that person's a reach. This person's a reach. That person was a reach. I can't believe they picked that person. Because there's a lack of top-tier talent. And I've said this now for the last couple of months. This is like an eye of the beholder draft. And if you don't believe me, listen to the people that are writing about this draft. Peter Schrager at ESPN. He wrote, in this draft, teams should just take their guy where they can get him. Bert Breer says teams will be on the clock at picks number 10, 15, or 20 and see a player they like but want to get him, say, 5 picks later, thinking he'll still be there. The problem will be that there's an oversaturation of teams looking to move down and very few looking to come up. So this is the draft where if you're a GM or a coach and you see a guy you like, you'll say, screw it, and just take him. That's the nature of this draft. Unfortunately, That is the unfortunate reality that we live in getting ready for the fourth pick tonight, is that it's an eye of the beholder type draft. And if you love a guy, you take the guy, because there are so many questions about so many players and you don't want to swing and miss. If you love the guy, you take the guy. And I feel like 98%, there's like a 98% chance that most of us will feel, okay, about the pick. If the Patriots stay at number 4, I think many of us will look at it and say, I can live with it. And I wish it wasn't that case. I wish it was, we can get excited, but there's just so many questions that are flying around all of these players. Now, there's opportunity. I said the Patriots, I'm much more confident that the Patriots are going to have an opportunity to move back into the first round, because there are a ton of teams in the 20s trying to get out of the first round. So I believe it's more likely now that the Patriots, say if they do draft somebody else at 4, they don't draft a tackle, or they move down, they draft somebody else. I believe it's more likely that the Patriots could trade back in later on tonight, given what's being reported. Because what's being reported, and don't get it twisted, these teams are saying, we want to move down, we want to move out. They're putting a for sale sign on their pick. So this isn't one of those things where, like, you're trying to read the tea leaves. These teams are telling these insiders, we want to move. We want to move out. Here's what Burt Breer wrote just a few moments ago on Twitter. Among the teams, these are not all the teams, among the teams that have explored moves down late in the first round into the second round, the Broncos, the Steelers, the Packers, the Vikings, the Rams, the Lions, the Chiefs, the Eagles. I just named 8 teams. And there are more. There are more teams that are also trying to move down or out of the first round. There could be as many as 10 teams from 20 to 32 that are trying to get into the second round, trying to move out of the first. Supply and demand. There are going to be so many teams that are trying to trade out of the 20s. It should be relatively reasonable for the Patriots to offer something if they want to move up, get back into that first round. And what I would hope for is that they start eyeing those premium positions. If you can walk out of the first round with 2 premium positions, I'm all in for that. Now, I wonder, what do the Raiders do at 6? What do the Raiders do at 6? Because right now, the odds are sliding towards Kelvin Banks. Kelvin Banks could end up going to the Raiders at 6. So if the Patriots, if they trade down, what does that leave you, right? Not only that, if the Raiders draft Kelvin Banks, does that make Colton Miller available? We don't really know that. But if the Raiders use that 6th pick on a tackle, they could easily play the tackle at right tackle, keep Miller, and play Miller at left tackle. Or they could say, we're not going to pay Colton Miller. We're going to move on from Colton Miller. And so we're going to draft Kelvin Banks. That's our starting left tackle. And then maybe that means Colton Miller is officially on the trade block. And I've talked about this before. I would be all in on Colton Miller. I did a podcast on it at Locked On Patriots if you want to check it out. I'd be all in on Colton Miller. So we also have to keep an eye on what the Raiders do. Because if the Raiders go tackle, that could open up an opportunity for the Patriots to jump in and trade for Miller. Now, is it likely? I don't think so. Phil Perry said it on the show today that I worked on. Left tackles are rare. Teams don't usually trade left tackles. They don't usually let those guys walk out the door. So I find it unlikely, but it's interesting to keep an eye on what the Raiders do. Jeremy Fowler just a moment ago tweets out one theme that looms large. 3 teams in the thick of the top 10 have first-time GMs. How they maneuver could have a ripple effect on the rest of the draft. Interesting take from Fowler. Is somebody going to screw things up? All right, here's my perfect scenario. Here's my perfect scenario for tonight. The Patriots trade down from 4. They land a left tackle. Whether they trade down to 6, 9, 10, whatever. They trade down. They land a left tackle prospect. They land that left tackle prospect right there at, let's just say, 10. They make that move with Chicago. They draft a left tackle prospect at 10. Then they trade back in to the 20s. And they do one of two things. They draft my guy, Emeka Egbuka, who, by the way, today's Locked On Patriots podcast I gave the names of 3 players that I think are undervalued in this draft. Egbuka is one of those guys. Trade up, and draft a wide receiver, Golden, Egbuka, whatever, or trade back into the first round and draft a guard like a Donovan Jackson. My mock draft, I had the Patriots selecting Will Campbell and then selecting Donovan Jackson at 38. If you want to secure Donovan Jackson, who played both guard and tackle, and shout out to Greg Bedard, who gave me some love in his column today for this idea. If you can draft Donovan Jackson, now you have Jackson and Campbell, if you can get Campbell at 10. And now you have 2 guys that can play left guard or left tackle, and that gives you versatility. That gives you opportunity to make the most and just pick the best 5 offensive linemen that you got. So I would love to see the Patriots trade down, land a tackle with that first pick, trade back in to get either a guard or a wide receiver. If Egbuka's there, Egbuka. Emeka Egbuka. I'm a big fan of Emeka Egbuka. I've been a big fan of his for the last 2-3 years. The guy is smooth. High football IQ. Great hands. He's a player. All right. I got a podcast coming up at 7 o'clock on this channel. We're going to talk NFL. Bigger picture. NFL podcast. I got to go grab a beer. I'm going to pour that beer. I'm going to sit my tuchus right here in this seat. And then we'll kick things off at 7 o'clock. Crafts and Kickoffs, NFL discussion about this draft. So we do this live stream now. We got Crafts and Kickoffs coming up in just under 30 minutes to talk about the NFL, bigger things, Shedeur Sanders, and all the other stuff that's being said right now. And then after the pick is made tonight, whenever the Patriots pick, that first pick, we're back here for another live stream to break down the pick. We got a lot to do tonight. I'm fired up. You're fired up. I got to go grab my first beer. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Trying to get to 6,600 subscribers within the next 87 minutes. Can we do it? The next 87 minutes. Can we get that done? I think we can. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll catch you in 27 minutes. Crafts and Kickoffs. Take a deep breath. Have a bite to eat. Get a drink. We're back for Crafts and Kickoffs in 27 minutes. It's NFL draft night. We're going to do it right tonight. I'll talk to you very soon. I appreciate every single, and I mean it. Oh, hold on. McGriffith, $10 super chat. I almost missed you. If Carter somehow falls to 4 and they take him, how do you see them addressing the left tackle spot later on? Trade back up. You still need that position more than anything else. Yes, trade back in. There are as many as 10 teams trying to trade out of the first round, somewhere in the 20s. Minnesota is a team that I would look at, 24. I talked about that earlier in the week. They have 4 picks in this draft. They want draft capital. Pittsburgh's a possibility at 21. The Commanders are a possibility at 29. It really depends on where you think you can get that person. So that's what I would do. I'm so happy I grabbed that super chat and didn't blow you off, McGriffith. I appreciate the $10. We are now 26 minutes away from Crafts and Kickoffs. We'll talk NFL draft over there. Again, coming up in 26 minutes. I'll talk to you then. Appreciate every single one of you.